All right, welcome back to the letter. We need to finish Zachary's chapter. I wanted to do that last time we were playing, but we had eagerly blown through Hannah's chapter. And now, I don't know. And now we have to do Zachary's. We got to finish that, and then we can move on to whomever is next. Let's go ahead and just choose continue. I think we had just made a choice where we said we thought that crib would make a fun gift or a good gift. Hard to say who that increased our relationship with. I mean, I don't know if we were maxed out and it reduced it or what, but good to know. We're still fairly high up there with Hannah. A funny sight when taken out of context, and I probably will be laughing really if I understand what warranted such a reaction from her. And I believe that's because we said that and now she's blushing.
I wasn't looking at the crib.
I wasn't really talking about the crib, Hannah.
Very good then. But it wasn't the crib, all right.
Alright, I get you. But that's not it. Honest. I was just saying the stuff that was on display there looks nice. Or at least as nice as it can be compared to the ones we visited earlier. But I'm sure your interior designer has something different in mind for your mansion, so don't mind me.
I was hoping that would be enough to cut the topic short. Instead, she sighs, leans on the wall closest to her, and runs her hands through a lock of her hair. There's a far-flung look in her eyes, even as she fixes it on the concrete curb.
You need to stop looking at people like that, sweetie.
I'm afraid I don't quite catch your drift, ma'am.
I suppose you wouldn't be aware of it. Do you know you always carry this kind of phase? Like you're always staring at the world with this honest look. Like all there is to see is all the good in it.
Frankly, I don't see anything wrong if it's like that. I mean, there always has to be something in it. You know, a sprinkle of kindness here and there. Otherwise, we'd all be miserable.
For you, maybe. Some people have to fight through it just to see that. And kindness isn't always a great thing to have around. Sometimes too much of it can hurt.
It makes you wonder where this is coming from. How bad things have really gone for her to have this view. I do understand her sentiment. Really, I do. Still, when it's the last thing you can cling to, when things have gone irreversibly bad, sometimes you simply don't get to make a choice.
Besides, the point is, it's impossible to lie when a person is looking at you like that. Or I could, but I'd feel like a horrible person afterwards. Did you hear that, Mr. Zach? You just made me feel like a horrible person. I sort of wish I had one like it. Just so people would stop lying to my face.
Or you can start by being honest with yourself. It shouldn't be quite hard. Friends don't lie to each other, don't they?
I guess so.
So what was the lie?
She draws in a breath, lays a soothing hand to her stomach, and...
That it was really the crib I was looking at earlier, silly. You're right, Uncle Zach. It's cute, but the pattern's not to my taste. I'm pretty sure Marianne could do something about that, though. At the moment, what I should really be worried about is if I'm ever going to be a good mother to this child. Mad! I can't even tell the father he's going to be one in a few months' time.
Oh! That explains an awful lot of why she was upset with Luke, on top of Luke being a scumlord.
Probably doesn't even want anything to do with this whole pregnancy thing. What am I going to do, Zach? Because right now, I'm absolutely at a loss.
You know, I'm rethinking this showing her the creepy ass pictures thing.
Oh.
Oh. A beat.
Oh!
Oh! The realization strikes me like a ton of bricks suddenly bearing down on me. More than astonishment must have shown in my face because Hannah lets out a chuckle. The slump of her shoulders disappears altogether underneath her mirth.
Don't look so surprised, dearie. Tied the knot 7 years ago, remember? Don't you think it's bound to happen?
She brandishes her hand in front of me, the unassuming silver band on her finger glinting against the late morning sunlight for a second. She eyes it lovingly, almost tenderly, despite the traces of sadness in her voice. For all I know, there's an entire story there. I'd ask, but that would be too inappropriate, even for friends. It's not my place to meddle, to begin with.
Or at least that's what they've been saying early on. My whole social circle would be saying it's a long time coming.
But the kid is something you want, right? Because if it ain't, then that's a whole other problem.
Of course. I wouldn't deny I've been hoping to have him or her for a long time now. But then, now that we're here, all of a sudden, there are a whole lot of other things to be worried about. Business, a new home, public image, my own husband, and I don't know. I didn't really have anyone for a role model. I practically grew up with nursemaids pampering me every step of the way. What if it happens to this baby as well? Oh, I can already see how this will end.
Huh. I guess it's not just my sister.
What?
You and my sister. I mean, you're both having jitters or something like that. That's what it's called, right? First baby jitters? Mind you, she was really convinced she'd do everything wrong then. He even called me in the middle of the night. Asked to switch places the day she found out she's carrying a new member of the family. Never mind how utterly impossible her request is.
I'm quite sure I haven't done anything of that sort yet.
Oh, you don't know that? My brother-in-law has been telling me things 5 weeks into my sister's pregnancy. Since she's one cranky pregnant lady. Man, good thing I found a place for myself years before that bundle of joy arrived, huh?
It can't be that awful.
Who knows? I think we'd better leave it for Mr. Right to decide, yeah?
Provided he comes around. He just sounds so repulsed every time the idea is brought up.
Then maybe you should say it to his face. No mincing of words or beating around the bushes.
And if he says no?
You haven't even told him yet. Besides, that's his kid. Don't people usually say fatherhood changes men? I wouldn't call myself a living testament, of course. But there ought to be something that will hit him in that idea alone.
A wrecking ball would be nice.
Laughter escapes me before I can stop it, and for a moment I thought I've done something wrong when she doesn't join in. He's still her husband, no matter what jests or complaints she hurls about him behind the media's eyes or in the presence of people she trusts. But when she does, her chuckle, a small, hesitant sound at first, I find the rest of my unease slipping away.
Well, whatever it is, my point is, you've got no idea what will happen. In the same way, you don't know if you'll be a good mom. Trust me, my sister's been there. It's perfectly normal. If, my opinion matters, though.
A long second of indecision goes by. I can feel her eyes, filled with nothing but curiosity, boring into me while she waits for the rest. It's just a simple sentiment, but one thing I think she needs to hear for all the doubt she unwittingly places on herself. I'm just not sure if it should come from me. I'll be damned.
I think you'll be a great mother, Hannah.
If she has an answer to that, I don't get to hear it, nor does she get to say it. As soon as it's out of my mouth, the bell clanging over the antique store chimes, and out comes Miss McCullough. For more than one reason, I've never been so relieved our talk got interrupted.
Everything's been taken care of for tomorrow, Mrs. Wright. We'll have everything you requested delivered early. I've left them instructions, but I may have to visit again right before your housewarming party to check for a few things. I hope that's acceptable to you?
More than Marianne. This is a little early to say, but you did marvelous work with the mansion. I can't wait to see all of it come together tomorrow.
I'm only doing my job, ma'am. Needless to say, it's always a pleasure to hear a client is satisfied with my work.
Nonsense! You have every reason to be proud. I know you've already established your name here, but I'll still make sure word gets out, of course. I think I've got a few friends who might be interested in decorating their homes. I'll see if I can introduce you to them tomorrow.
I really don't want to impose, Mrs. Wright. There's still a lot to be done, and I'd rather be keeping an eye on it myself.
You know well enough I'll still do it. You too, Monsieur le Photographe. You better be the one taking the pictures for the event tomorrow, or I'll be very upset.
I blink at her, confused. Last I checked, I have nothing scheduled on my plate for tomorrow. A couple of fleeting thoughts did cross my mind on working on personal projects, but with the expectant expression on Hannah's face alone, I've wondered before how they got Isabella to sell them the mansion, with all the paperwork and the loops that it has to go through. Well, now the how is already standing in front of me, and it's one hell of a giant ball of persuasion in human form. If I have any doubts about how she got around life, all of them have been dispelled right this instant. Hannah hasn't said anything yet, but I already know what my answer will be.
What event?
Our housewarming party, dearie. I've already sent invites through your publisher. They should have informed you of it by now.
I may have probably missed it. I haven't gotten the chance to check my mailbox yet. Deadlines, real-life happenings, they can be pretty hectic. I'll try later, but they might have already assigned it to a different photographer if they haven't received my reply yet.
That's not a problem. Nothing a little call from me can't fix. I'll have them know I'm specifically requesting for your presence. It shouldn't be too hard. Just promise me you'll show up. I expect to see you both there. No excuses.
Good company, good music, good food. Of course I'll be there.
Lovely. I hope we have that settled then. I'd love to stay and chat, but unfortunately I have an appointment scheduled with the doctors after this. You two will have to excuse me.
Are you feeling fine, ma'am?
It's nothing big.
There's a short while in which her hand faintly touches her stomach when she says this. Her smile, as she does so, a tender thing in itself. She might never have let it cross her mind, but motherhood would suit her. The kid is already loved, even when he or she has yet to have a sense of the world. Candid moments like this, I wish I'd brought a camera for.
Sorry we had to cut this short. I'd love to have lunch with you two, but, well, you two know how it goes.
It's quite fine, Mrs. Wright. I need to get going as well.
Is it somewhere far from here? I can have my driver drop you off on the way.
No, please. There's no need for that, Mrs. Wright. It's just within the city.
I see. What about you, Zach? We did leave your push bike at the mansion. Don't worry, I'll have someone bring it to your home later.
Nah, I live within the city too. A few blocks from here, in fact. I only visited earlier because...
The photos. Damn, I've completely forgot about them. My hand grazes the side of my pocket where I've kept them since this morning, and sure enough, they're still there, waiting for the whole world to see them.
Because? Zach, sweetie, you're zoning out.
Miss Hannah, earlier, at the mansion?
I think never mind. If she's pregnant and gonna go talk to a doctor and all that stuff, I don't think I want to show her horror movie photos, so never mind. She should know. I really should tell her, but we apparently made the right choice, or at least we made the right choice for her liking us anyway. Yet,
Zachary, what is it?
when I look at her, all I see is a woman who only wants to be the best for the family she's trying to build. I see those loving smiles on her face whenever she puts her hand over her belly, or the fond tones in her voice every time she thinks about what will be in months' time. I bet she bought that mansion for the same reason. To fill its many rooms with the smiles and laughter of their children, to create memories from it, unlike the lonely ones she had as a child. And I can't bring myself to shatter that little wish. What other proof do I have except for what might be taken as a couple of badly developed photos? No matter where you look at it, this is ridiculous. Maybe I am seeing things. I need to visit my doctor again as soon as possible.
About the photos you requested.
Oh, are they done?
No, actually, they're not done yet. I had to finish the ones for the magazine first. I really don't want to rush it.
Please don't tell me you came all the way to Anslim just to tell me that.
I made you a promise.
Oh, you poor thing. I won't hold it against you if you can't give it to me soon. I'm not rushing you, dear.
You heard that. She wants us to give it to her.
Good art takes time, yes.
Yes.
I'm more concerned about the quality than how fast it gets delivered. With it, I'm sure I'll get my money's worth.
She wasn't paying us, so...
You really don't have to pay for it, Hana.
Shush you. Don't sell yourself short. You keep doing that and other people will follow. I'll have my secretary send the first half to your account tonight. No buts.
Oh my. Behind her, Miss McCullough merely nods, mouthing to me to just take it as it is. She'd know, of course, being the other person working for the rights. But even if I decline, I'm certain Hannah won't be giving me a choice. She'll do it anyway.
I guess I'll just have to make sure I'll take good photos tomorrow at your party, yeah?
Fair enough. I'd love to discuss it with you, but I'll only get in the way. And I really need to leave now.
Have a good day, then.
You too, sweetie.
She smiles and waves, and then she's gone, leaving me wondering if I've just wasted half of my day worrying for nothing. But the weight of the photos in my pocket is impossible to ignore. Maybe I should have done the foolish thing instead. Miss McCullough departs shortly after Miss Wright has taken her leave, muttering something about getting a quick lunch before fetching a Baruthiel from Chris. I don't know what or who a Baruthiel is, but it must be important for her to be in this kind of hurry. And, well, she doesn't seem fond of small talks, something we can both agree on. Lunch sounds good, or walk around the city maybe, but with the sun as high as it is now, nah. And after how things with Miss Hannah went, I simply can't muster the appetite for anything at the moment. If I don't do anything with it now, I have this impression it will rear its ugly head again. And by then, things might be too late to fix. What other choice do I have? Ash? Rebecca? In all likelihood, all they'll do is give me a pat on the back and, Z-Man, go get some sleep, you're at it again from Ash. I talked to Isabella, but I haven't seen her around since she showed up at my apartment 2 days ago. Weird. There is one person, though.
Damn, I should have thought of that first.
As it turns out, I do have another choice. I'm not a religious person. I won't identify myself as such. Or rather, I can't. Sure, my grandparents didn't have to force me to go weekly. I'd happily join them. In fact, most of my childhood Sundays were spent attending service. It's simply that, as you get older, the more experiences you get, forming your own beliefs on things becomes easier, for lack of a better word. And at one point it just stopped, that kind of thing. Nevertheless, I hold no disdain for it. Sometimes it does help. When things are really, really bad, when the dreams won't stay where they should be, talking does. A bit. It's also a good thing Father Norman's, well, he's not completely the pious man you'd typically expect. My unlikely friendship only probably happened because he's the kind of guy who's cool with the young ones, as he so aptly puts. And he is, surprisingly. It makes him easy to approach. Maybe he has something to say about the photos as well. It won't hurt, since I've already gone ahead and went to Anslim. At daybreak. On my bike. Well, I don't think it's that he's not pious. I think it's that he's not that kind of snooty pious. People mean pious in a derogatory way sometimes. I think he is hep with the kids. What's up, yo? At the very least, I know I won't get shouted at by whoever answers the door.
Unless someone does that inside a church. I highly doubt it.
What's going on, boo? How you been, man? Despite its age, the Luxburn Church is a thing of wonder in itself, with its high vaulted ceilings and intricate stained glass windows. One of the many gifts the Ermengarde family donated to the community in its early days. Or so I heard from Rebecca. She mentioned this once, although most of it flew over my head then. At this time of day, the church is mostly empty, save for a few visitors and ushers shuffling about, some muttering prayers under their breath. The scene of burning candles and incense permeate the air, giving the place a general feeling of reverence. They weren't questions per se. I was hemming and hawing between a couple of computer cases, boo. I've been looking to upgrade my rig, and with a vacation next week, and Amazon Prime, my good buddy, and a tax return sitting in my pocket, I decided that I would upgrade my computer. Then it turned out, by upgrade, I mean buy every single other part except for a new graphics card, because they're stupid expensive. Pretty welcoming, all in all, this church. Even so, I keep the noise my treads make to a minimum. Disturbing the quiet feels like a sin. An usher points me to a pew in front of the altar when asked where Father Norman prays. He mentions something about the good priest not being in good health, ever since he was asked by a couple to bless their new home before moving in. I suppose you can guess who the couple is, and the home he was asked to bless. This is the first time in days he's left his room. No surprise there with the weird heat lately. Even Rebecca caught something. Nervous little chap, the kid. Nevertheless, he leads me close to the foot of the dais, with a reminder not to stay too long before walking off. Seconds later, Father shifts and stands. He doesn't seem to have noticed me, and so I have to give him a little tap on the shoulder. When he looks, though, to say he's surprised is an understatement.
Stay away.
Oh, creepy. His voice comes out a whisper, almost inaudible in the hush, a quiet restraint and deference to where we're both standing. But the tremor is there. He focuses on me with wide, bulging eyes, a copious amount of sweat appearing on his forehead despite the relative coolness of the place.
Father Norman?
Keep your distance.
Hey, it's me, Zach, remember?
Stay away. Don't come near me.
It must be the fever talking, or whatever he caught. It has to be. I don't recall ever doing anything for him to drive me away like this. In all the years I've known him, he's been nothing but polite, nothing but accepting of people regardless of their beliefs or status in life. For words akin to a threat to come out of him is simply beyond unimaginable.
Go back to where you came from. Leave.
Father, what did I do?
Leave now.
I extend a hand to his shoulder, meant to be reassuring, but he recoils, his ankle catching on the edge of the dais as he backs away. His shout, when I attempt to reach out again, echoes through the entire hall, catching the attention of the few people inside. I try to keep a level tone, but with these strangers' eyes trained on us, panic starts to weave its way into
Stay
me.
away, demon. Go back to the hell you came from.
Father, it's okay. I only came here for some pictures I thought looked odd. I figured you might know something.
From my pocket, I fish out the photos and try and hand it to him. Instead, he strikes my wrist away, almost like an accusation, and sends the photographs fluttering uselessly to the floor. Helpless, I can only watch as he curls into himself on the ground, a sad, blubbering mess whimpering to himself. He tips his head forward and begins rocking, his hands clamped over his ears.
That accursed spirit, so full of anger and pain. All those horrible things I've seen. I can't sleep. Can't eat everywhere I look. Go away. Go away. Go away. You're not supposed to be here. This is a house of God. Be gone, demon.
So, this dude is not the kind you bring to an exorcism, apparently. Whoops.
Lord have mercy, God, our Lord, King of ages, all-powerful and almighty. You who made everything and transform everything simply by your will.
A number of people have moved closer, mostly just to gawk. Thankfully, as if to save him from being an utter spectacle, 2 ushers come out, taking him away. One of them, the kid from earlier, shoots me an apologetic look. I can't even return it to him. Anxiety is a powerful thing, a firm little notion that clings, and eats, and consumes you. I can still hear his prayers, even as they drag him away.
May he keep at bay and vanquish every evil power, every poison or malice invoked against us by corrupt and envious people. Then under the protection of your authority may we sing in gratitude.
It rings, hums in me as I'm left to pick up the pieces of this chaos. Back to square one we go. If there is salvation in this, I hope we find it soon. The moon is well into the night sky by the time I make it home. My heavy treads and the sound of traffic outside echoing in my ears, filling the empty room with some semblance of life. Nana would scold me if she ever hears me walk like that, but after today, I really don't give a damn. The mattress creaks under my weight as I unceremoniously flop down on it, and I find myself looking at the paper under my grip. As promised, Miss Wright had my bike delivered back to my apartment. Found it parked in the rack downstairs with an invitation and a note tacked to it, in fact. Raise your glasses, give cheers to the good times. You are cordially invited to the Wright's housewarming party, October 28th, 2016, Friday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon onwards. Ermengarde Mansion. Be there. Heart, Hannah. Be there, it said. If only it were that easy. But it will give me a chance to talk to her. About that thing in her house. With a sigh, I let my hand fall to the side of my bed along with the invitation. I'll think about it tomorrow, when my head ain't muddled with the thoughts of a headless woman and the haunting smiles of a ghost. Belatedly, it occurs to me I haven't eaten anything since I left this morning, and an empty, gnawing ache makes itself known, but I can't bring myself to stand up. Today was a complete waste of time and, frankly, a disappointment. I don't like this. The lack of certainty, the disquiet, the lack of stable ground to stand on, the part where I don't know what will come tomorrow. Ever since that damn letter, everything's been thrown out of the loop. Wish everything had stayed the same. Routine would have been easier to make sense of than this. Closing my eyes, I let the noise from the streets below lull me to sleep. At the very least, that's the one thing that hasn't changed. The melody carries into the hall long before I cross the threshold. Solemn, but gentle and soothing. A reminder of what home is. Pa's firm but meaningful gaze. Ma's wistful smiles. The warm rays filtering through the eaves at sunset. The distinct smell of wet earth and leaves after a long day's rain in our room. The room. Ma and Pa's pride and joy, a place where we once promised several springs ago. Yet it won't stop.
No, wait! Come back! I'll be good this time! Please don't leave! Please stay!
The floorboards are cold under my feet more than it usually is. The walls more forbidding than what I'm used to. Farther and farther the room goes. Ma's singing ceases, and Pa? I can't hear Pa. Not above the raucous clanging and the deafening roar of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comforting soft melodies. There's only the blinding fear. But when the light breaks, Her skin has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Hana's neck like a noose, straining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes. A scream ripples through the air, and my whole body feels distant, every limb heavy with lead, unable to move at will. Not even so I can wipe the beads of sweat forming at my temple. The rasping of my breath easily fills the room in the wee hours while I force it back into a steady rhythm. There's a tightness in my chest I can't shake off, my heart pounding against it as if it's about to burst out. Something cold has settled in my legs. Not the usual chill that comes and goes with the passing breeze from the window, but one strong enough to sting, shackle, and leave a frigid sensation creeping up my skin. With every struggle I make, the pressure winds firmly around my legs. Tighter, 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 until it all becomes too much. My heart stops. Another draft sweeps into the room and brings with it the iron tang of blood. Thick, suffocating, filling my nose with a foul, sickening smell as I shift my gaze downward, and it slowly comes into view. Mouth stretched in a hideous smile, eyes brimming with nothing but madness. The stench of gore taints the air around me, and I can't look away. From it, her, from the terror and death that her uncanny, twisted features alone scream. I try to open my mouth, to shout, to ask for help, but my voice has left my body altogether. All I have is the painful realization that no kind of plea will ever save me from her. And then suddenly, the bed dips. The brutal plunge back into myself jerks me awake. There's no ear-splitting scream, no wild thrashing of limbs. Just a painful, constricting awareness that something has wound itself tightly around my neck. I waste no second pulling it, a blanket, away, but allow myself a few minutes to steady my breathing before getting off the bed. Inhale, hold, exhale. One step, 2 steps, 3. But the dreams have gotten worse. Ever since 2 days ago, no longer are they the small, cursory flashes that I'm used to, but vivid ones that linger. I can still feel the blood in my hands, the putrid smell of rotting flesh, the sickening crunch of bones breaking with every movement, and her cold, chilling eyes as they bore into me. I draw in one long, ragged breath, and before I know it, I'm walking out the door. Even in the waking world, it reeks. A bench on the park is far from the most private place for thoughts in Luxburn, considering its location at the heart of a bustling city. But in the early hours of the morning, it provides enough peace and quiet for any poor, problematic soul who happens to wander there. The city is just waking up, a little later than usual. But knowing what day it is, one can't fault it for being a little tardy just this once. Yet neither the pleasant morning chill nor the soft twittering of birds does anything to banish the images. Every single one has rooted itself in my head, its claws digging deep in what is no longer a safe place to hide in.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Take a key and lock him up, lock him up, lock him up. Take a key and lock him up, my fair lady. London Bridge is falling down.
Now?
Falling down.
Now I don't know what to
falling
make
down.
of it. Sometimes it's easier to
London
run,
Bridge
easier to
is
hide when
falling
everything's
down.
falling
My
apart.
fair lady.
That way you don't
Take
have to
that
be the
key and lock
first to
him
witness
up,
when it
lock
does.
him up,
It
lock
worked when
him
things
up.
went bad with
Take
the
that
movie,
key
after all.
and lock him up,
Also worked when
my
Ma and Pa were
fair
taken from
lady.
us. Though the sentiment's a little
London
hypocritical
Bridge
when
is
you think
falling
about
down,
my little talk
falling
with Miss
down,
Wright the other
falling
day.
down. London
But that's just
Bridge
how it is.
falling down, my
Shut up, kid!
fair lady.
Jesus.
Hey, mister.
F off, Kylie. I'm assuming that's Kylie. We haven't had a single other small child mentioned. The tiny voice gives me a pause. When I look up, a little girl, about 6 or 7, is peering at me. Not only is it difficult to read while she's singing, it's just annoying listening to her sing. I don't have the dad instincts that allow me to filter out all the bullshit that little kids say. 2 wide eyes overflowing with what can only be the natural curiosity one typically sees in children. I vaguely note the St. Goretti uniform that she's wearing before returning her greeting. St. Goretti is where Rebecca works.
Hey, kid.
Kylie.
See, Kylie, I told you. If that's the case, then that's Hannah's godchild.
Kylie?
That's my name. Mama said it's rude not to call people by their names.
Then she flops down on the empty space beside me. Her little legs, still too short to touch the ground, swings in tune with the song she hums under her breath. I don't mind kids. Nana would often invite the ones in our old neighborhood to give them treats. Of course, by then, Sis and I were both too old to play with them, but you get used to the commotion eventually. It's not completely unpleasant, as most people would imply. Kylie seems to be a well-behaved kid anyway.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure I can go along with that either, boo.
Nice to meet you, Kylie. Is Mama here?
No, but my big brother's with me.
Oh. Please tell me that Big Brother is, No, it wouldn't make any sense. We would know if it's
He's
Ashton.
taking pictures with his camera over there.
Hey, we take pictures with cameras, too. She points to the far end of the park, the one closest to the street where a kid is taking shots of something above him. It doesn't look to be birds, because all there is on that side of the park are
I don't
buildings.
see what's so interesting with the tip of a building, though. I'd take pictures of dogs if I were him. They're cuter. Do you have a camera too, mister?
Yeah, I'm actually a photographer.
Mama said I'm too young to get a camera.
I'm sure your mama will eventually give you one. But won't you be late for school like this?
Big brother will get us there on time. Rowan promised Papa.
A Rowan.
We aren't going to be late. It's sports day.
Ugh,
It's not good if you keep looking like that today.
Rowan and Kylie. Yeah, and we're the biggest stranger that's out here. They've routinely told us how
If it ends
large
up raining
that
and
we
we
are.
lose, it's your fault.
What?
All right, I'll try not to upset the clouds today, kid.
Is it because you're sick, mister?
Before I know it, a smile is spread over my face. They say kids ask the toughest questions sometimes, and they sure do with how sincere Kylie looks. Lying feels like doing her a huge disservice.
No, not sick. Just having a very, very bad day.
Why is that? Is that like when my big brother ate all of my pudding? He did that once and then cried. It wasn't very nice of him.
Yeah, I think so. You see, there's this mean girl. She's giving my friends and I a lot of trouble. Hard to keep up when things are like that, you know? Especially when you can't do anything. It's kind of scary. Makes you wish things will just stay as peaceful as they used to be.
Maybe she just wants to be friends with you?
I don't want to be friends with her.
I highly doubt that. She already hurt one of my friends.
What if she's just sad? Or maybe she just wants help.
Now that's very possibly true. That's how these ghost stories go, right?
That's what happened with Melody. I let her borrow my crayon when she left hers. Now we're playmates.
It's not really the same thing, Kylie. What she did, they're pretty bad things.
I think there's another reason. Did you try talking to her? That's what Mama said I should do.
Well, that's also how it worked in Cabin in the Woods. Whole bunch of kids joining hands, singing until the demon became a little frog.
I don't think that'll work either.
You haven't even tried yet. You sound like Rowan. You're just scared, mister.
That strikes a chord. Maybe it's the honesty in her tone or simply the truth of the words itself. I don't know why, but I can't help it. I laugh at her. I laugh. Loud enough to disturb an elderly couple taking a leisure walk nearby.
Why are you laughing?
That's nothing. You're a really smart kid, you know that?
That's what I've been doing, ain't it? Go full speed ahead and then backtrack when the going gets tough? Stay in my safe zone because that's what I know? Once, Dr. Navarro said that I should be the first one willing to deal with my problems before anyone else. I didn't show up on our next appointment after that. But he's right. And though I hate to admit it, knowing what I've seen, but the kid makes a good point too. I've been so caught up in thinking there might not be a way out. Maybe there isn't, or maybe there is, but that doesn't mean I should just leave it up to fate.
You better get to school, though, or you'll miss sports day. You should have won yourself some awards, alright?
Alright. Can I show it to you when I do? That can cheer people up, right?
Sure. In the distance, her brother calls for her, and I took that as a sign to leave. Got things to do, to face. The first few steps, they say.
Nah, I'm good now, I think. Thanks to you. Besides, Mister needs to go. But you should show it to Mama and Papa. I'm sure they'll be proud of you, Kylie.
I will. Thanks, mister. Bye.
I give her a little pat on the head before heading my way. Boy, that's something that I'm not sure you could get away with. Some 6-year-old wanders up to you in a park. You're a big, huge dude all by yourself. You talk for a few minutes and you touch her on the head and let her go. Walk out of the park to find cops waiting for you with handcuffs. Hey, well, she did approach him, but yeah, it's true. Like, nobody is at all concerned with this dude. A small gesture of thanks from a stranger she didn't know might have helped. And you know, that's the pity, though, right? Because people worry about the things like that, but he's a good dude. She may not understand it now, even though at such a young age she already has this understanding of things, but maybe when she's older. When the world no longer seems too big for her.
But aren't you going to help me, mister?
Uh-oh.
With what?
With what? Confused, I glanced back. Whatever cheer her little talk brought has vanished under the shadows suddenly dancing in my eyes. The frigid air is most definitely not how the morning chill should feel like. Bitter, stinging, and unwelcoming. And the kid?
What do you think, mister? Are you going to help me?
Leave us alone! What did we do to you?
The response never comes, however, because when I blinked, gone.
Hello? Mister? Are you okay?
For several passing seconds, I let my stare linger on her face, waiting for any sign of another change. But all that remains in there is the carefree smile of a child. None of the spite, none of the cold, bloody smile.
Nothing. I really need to go, Kylie. It was nice meeting you.
See you again, mister!
Doo-dum, doo-dum. Creepy. I break into a run. Hell yes, we do. I don't look back. Not even as I bump into a couple of passerbys as soon as I'm out on the busy street. Going insane. That's what this is. And if we don't do something soon, we all will be. The tremors follow me even as I get home. I had hoped a little stroll around the block for a few hours would help. Instead, I'm assaulted with more images of her smile, the loathing in her eyes, the stench of gore, the horrid crunch that comes with every movement she makes. Even old memories have been sullied by her, and Ma's song no longer sounds as sweet as it's meant to be. In the end, all I got is a sinking feeling I will never be rid of her image, and another ridiculous idea that may or may not even work. The sun is already hanging low on the horizon when I make it back. Where has he been all day? And for the first time, coming home feels more like a chore. Only... yeah. Only I didn't arrive to an empty room. What do you want to bet our good buddy Ashton has let himself into our house as he does? Because as soon as I open the door, I'm greeted by none other than...
Sup, Z-Man?
God damn it.
I told you we should have called him before going here.
Oh, there's two people.
It's fine.
It's Ashton I see first, sitting comfortably on my couch, munching on a bag of my chips, with both feet propped atop the coffee table. Whatever proverbial stone has made a home at the pit of my stomach automatically flies right out the window at the sight of him. But before any exasperation can set in, my attention's taken by the other occupant in the room. Isabella perches on the only other chair in the room, attempting to make herself smaller, it seems, from how closely she's hugging her arms against her. Nevertheless, she gives me a small smile when she notices my stare. Yet somehow there ain't any warmth in it, like it's supposed to have.
Hey, Zach. Sorry we just barged in here. Ash was...
Relax. Z-Man gave me a copy of the key himself.
Yeah, because you broke 13 of my locks.
Only after you broke the 13th one? I can't keep replacing them every time you think it'd be a good idea to break into my apartment.
Yeah.
And stop calling me Z-Man.
Stop calling me Z-Man!
I didn't break anything this time.
Ash, just because I gave you a key doesn't mean you can just stroll in here whenever you want to. And, hey, is that my...
Ash smirks at me because, of course, he has the gall to smirk, knowing what he did. He pops in what is very likely the last chip into his mouth, and folds the wrapper neatly on the table before throwing it on the nearby trash. From her chair, Isabella shoots me an apologetic smile as soon as the foil hits the waste bin with a dull thunk. Common sense dictates that I should be angry, but after everything, having something normal play out in front of me, no matter how childish their antics can get, I can't bring myself to muster even a tidbit of it. Man, the Google Translate is strong with this chapter. Behind me, the television starts blaring out the music for the end credits of a movie. They've likely been waiting for a while if Ash has gotten impatient enough to rummage through my cupboards and watch something.
Of course he eats all of it. You know, I was saving that for the weekend. Did you at least share some with Bella?
Don't worry about it. I'm good, Zach.
Really? It's free food, you know. What was that you usually say? You don't say no to free food? What happened?
No, I'm just not hungry.
Ash only shrugs at the question in my eyes. I can't be the only one who finds this vibe she's giving off to be odd, and the guy has no doubt already caught wind of it.
Aye. But if you want something, just say so. I've got a fully restocked pantry right here at your disposal. Still not a 5-star level thing, but for an empty stomach, it'd do.
Except we're now missing chips. We have no chips.
Just say the word.
Thanks, Zach. Maybe next time. Food is not really what we came here for. Ash, he's the one who...
She casts a brief glance at Ash, and in an instant, he sits up. Every trace of amusement is gone from his face as he clasps his hands in front of him and leans forward. A minuscule gesture meant to ease, yet the grim expression on him tells a different story.
All right, you two, what's this about? I don't like those looks.
A short but tense pause follows. They're both stalling. Under normal circumstances, I'd wait. With these two, the more you force it, the more they'll clamp down on it. But as a handful of seconds continue to slip by, the unsettling feeling in me also grows with it. Soon it turns into impatience, and before I can demand a response, one of them finally speaks up. It's Isabella who breaks it
We
first.
just thought we should check on you. After what happened to Rose,
Please don't tell me something happened again.
No, nothing. None so far. And we're keeping it that way as much as possible.
Ash, it's not that easy. This isn't some...
We don't know that. Let me...
The bitter frustration in his tone is impossible to miss, but he catches it as soon as Isabella draws back. He allows himself a moment to breathe before dropping it for one less harsh, more tempered, gentler.
Let me look at this first, okay? I agreed to help, but you've got to let me handle things from now on.
I already told you everything.
There must be something we're not seeing in this just yet. We'll sort this out, but no more silly ideas and running around on your own. You're making people worry more than necessary. Becca, especially.
So everything's fine.
Depends on who you're asking. How are things with you? Anything odd?
Good, I guess. Admittedly, how things went down at the housewarming party last night threw me off a bit.
I'm not asking about that. Remember the letter thing Isabella's been yapping on about?
Yapping on, what a dick.
I'm asking about that kind of odd.
I look at him. Gaped, more like. Stop gaping for Ash. His serious expression doesn't waver despite the perplexed look I shoot him. There's a brief second I let pass as I wait for the heavens to fall somewhere. It doesn't come. The sky is still bathed in vibrant reddish hues as it waits for the night to arrive. Luxburn is still the same busy city, and everything in my room appears as it did a second ago, including the unnerving ticking of my wall clock. Sealy Bob, we are gaping at Ashton here because he has said a thing about creepy ghost girls, and we've been haunted and nearly killed by one since the last time we've seen him, so we are startled, you see. But if Ashton, calm, cool, collected, always logical Vulcan Ashton takes an interest in this, something or someone must have fucked shit up somewhere.
Well, the dreams, they're a lot worse than usual. There's a woman now, ever since we saw that letter. I don't know if it's the same one Isabella talked about. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't. I really don't want to go back to sleep sometimes. Last night was the worst. Anyway, why are you asking about this?
Rose's death isn't just a coincidence, Zach. It may have something to do with... I may have...
Wait, stop right there for a sec, Bella. I thought you ain't buying this stuff, Ash. Just the other day, you said the exact same thing.
I still don't, but even Rebecca, out of all people, claims there's something.
Uh-oh.
Whatever this is, someone has got to look into it. Everything about this screams shady.
Are you sure you even have the time? Ain't you busy with your current case?
I got taken off that one.
You didn't say you were taken off your case.
Ouch.
I just got the news this morning. Apparently the higher-ups think I'm doing a horrendous job at it. It doesn't matter though. If these two cases are connected like I initially thought, then regardless, I'm on the right track.
Are you sure we should even be doing this?
Doing what exactly?
There's some place we'll visit after this.
Too vague for comfort, Ash.
Way too vague.
Please don't tell me you're bringing her with you.
His affirmation comes in the form of a stare, but that alone says all I need to know. What I pointed out gives him a pause, though, and his voice is thick with hesitation when he addresses Isabella.
You know what? Zach's right, Isabella. You don't have to come with me.
It's not myself I'm worried about. It's you. I'll just do this myself, if it'll get you into more trouble with your superiors. At least I can make up an excuse why I need to be there.
Don't be ridiculous. You're not walking in there without me. Besides, I think it's a little too late to back out now. Have you two seen the news this morning?
No.
I haven't, actually. Mama called, and I was busy.
The change in the air around her, while small, cannot have gone unnoticed, and it takes every willpower not to ask. Probably the only thing reining in my curiosity is the fact that Ash himself hasn't brought it up either.
No problem. It should be in the afternoon news as well.
Another victim by the Anselm Butcher? Man burned after room catches fire. He grabs the remote and cycles through numerous channels until he gets to a news report about another guy who's been found dead in the early hours of the morning today. Burned alive this time. Oddly, no fire has spread, and whatever damage has been contained within the place the body was found. The room itself, however, has been completely vandalized. Help me. Help me. Help me. Another murder, the authorities claimed. Isabella and I knew better. None of us shifts even after the report ends, but the room has suddenly felt stifling. Ashton's eyes have gone hooded with what appears to be restrained anger, and the remote in his hand creaks mildly under his grip. The stone is back in my stomach. A tiny little thing gripping at my insides, growing with every passing second as the dread sinks in. In the thick of it, Isabella's voice is the one that breaks the hush. A small, weak thing on its own that wavers unevenly between words, but every syllable heavy with meaning.
This is because of that thing, isn't it? I did this somehow.
When it fades, all that's left in the air is her doubt and fear, while all we can do is to cope. So, do we think that we can still fix this? Or should we remain quiet? That's a good question. Let's be optimistic. Our friends like us to be optimistic.
It ain't too late. We could still fix this. There's 3 of us here.
Did that work? Yeah. We're gonna make buddies with everybody.
4 if you count Rebecca.
No, she's staying away from this.
Uh-oh. She lifts her gaze at me, eyes steady and shoulders squared as she holds it against the baffled look I give her. Although in the next second, it immediately softens, and it takes me by surprise nonetheless. In those brief moments, it's like I faced a different person.
I don't want to involve her in this any more than I already have. Both of you as well.
I already said it. That's completely out of the question. Stop asking.
Still in all, that's 2 extra heads who can do the thinking. Between us 3, I'm sure we'll figure something out pretty soon.
Don't make this whole thing sound like it's a piece of cake to deal with.
It ain't. But better than sitting around, yeah? Plan is still a plan.
You're going to shoot yourself in the foot one day with that kind of thinking. We don't even know who's doing this. The last 2 murders might just be similar incidents done by 2 different suspects.
Hasn't stopped you from going after them before. Remember that time when you...
Okay, stop
right there.
There will be no retelling of that incident today, Z-Man.
You need to stop calling me Z-Man, or I'm going to start telling your embarrassing stories.
Forever.
Keep calling me Z-Man and maybe I will.
Suddenly, Isabella laughs. Though muffled by her hands, it rings light and easy against the thick tension in the room. Still a far cry from the usual cheer she carries, but it brings a welcome shift in the otherwise dreary mood.
Thanks, you two.
I'll tell you about it when he's not around.
Give it up, Z-Man. She's not interested.
Who says I'm not?
Ash makes a face, but chuckles at the jest despite
Why
himself.
am I even friends with you two?
And like this, most of our worries ebb away, if only for a few moments. They take their leave mere moments, close to sundown. But regardless of the lighter mood, little has been said of their plans, only vague hints of what they're aiming to do after. While it ain't any of my business to know, something about this whole thing gnaws at me. A tiny passing thought urges in me to do something as well. At this hour, the streets are once again busy with people heading home after a hard day's work. Little of the bustle matters to them as they step out of the crowded walkway, however. Ash, especially. Yeah, Art Assets doesn't really know the difference between noon and sunrise and sunset. It just likes this golden hour image. There's only his goal in his mind, and I'd wager there's nothing I can do to stop him at this point. He's probably decided on it long before they made the decision to drop by. But despite this, Isabella lags behind. A worried crease is back on her forehead as she watches Ash leave to get in his car.
Something wrong, Bella?
No, actually, can you check on Becca for me after this? I really didn't get the chance to tell her where I'm headed off to. Tell her I'm okay and No, just that. That's all.
You sure I should skip on that part? If she finds out about this, she'll be angry. I don't really want to deal with angry Rebecca. It gives me a stomachache just thinking about it.
Neither do I, but I'll handle it if she gets mad. Just make sure she's safe and tell her to be careful. You too. Take care of yourself.
Almost abruptly, she pauses, the gaze in her eyes hardening as she lapses into another one of those long, distant silences from earlier. This ain't just because of the whole fiasco with the letter anymore.
I don't want what happened to Rose to happen to you guys as well.
This one cut deeper. Before I can ask about it, Ashton returns, casually swinging his car keys on one hand and gestures at
Come
Isabella.
on, we don't have much time. Shirley's waiting.
Who's sure?
Oh,
Right.
right.
Don't answer that. I don't want to hear it, you huge dork.
Shirley's his car.
Says the person who gave her stuffed toys names. Batcat? Really?
It's cute.
Really?
Yours is just weird.
I'll see you later, Zach.
She spares me another smile, and as I watch her walk off, only now did it occur to me that none of those that she gave today ever reached her eyes. I make a grab for the back of Ash's parka. He staggers briefly before correcting himself and shooting me a confused stare.
Is she all right?
What? Who's okay?
Isabella. Did something happen earlier?
The scowl on his face says it all.
She's actually been like that this morning. I'll ask, but
Just do me a favor and watch over her. We have no idea what we're dealing with.
You guys think we can get out of here with everybody left alive? Well, except for, what's his face? Luke. Luke's a dick, and I'm gonna do what I can to get him murdered.
I don't know what happened to her since the last time I saw her, but from how she's been doing today, whatever it is, it seems like a pretty big deal. Wait, you didn't annoy her again, did you? Because I swear to God, if you did, you've got another thing coming for you.
what? No. Why would I?
I'm just asking. I'll take your word for it. But if you can find out what's bothering her, that'd be nice. Honestly, I don't think it's the letter this time.
I'll see what I can do.
Make sure you keep yourself out of harm's way, alright?
Yeah, you too. Don't do anything reckless again.
Reckless, no. But I can't make you to promise I won't do anything. After seeing that, there's no way in hell I'm going to pretend there ain't a problem when there is. This is a really big one, and I'll be damned if I let anything happen to you guys while I sit here. I'm done running when things get tough.
He's about to argue for a moment, but
Look, bro, if things ain't good, I'll be the first one out.
All right. We're going to be involved with things, but if shit gets crazy, we're out of here.
But allow me this one thing, aight? Just this one time. If it doesn't work out, you'll be the first one to know. You can laugh then, or berate me all you want. But please don't ask me to step aside like I'm incapable of doing anything to help.
It's cool. I have no idea if it's the look on my face or the tone of my voice. Ultimately, though, his mouth presses into a thin line, and he nods.
All right. Stay safe, Zach.
When he stumbles onto the sidewalk and allows the afternoon crowd to swallow him whole, I like to think the tiny gleam in his eyes is the closest we can get to optimism in this situation. Whether that alone will be enough to give me a peaceful sleep tonight remains to be said. October the 30th, Sunday. Night falls, and despite my best attempts, sleep continues to elude me. All Hallows Eve. With her image still stuck in my head, flashing every few minutes, it catches me off guard. Like with Ma's lullaby still echoing in my ears, no longer the soft tune it once was. And the terrible gnawing at the pit of my stomach, it's no wonder I can't bring myself to drift off even for a little while. It's not as if there's a complete lack of things to do while waiting for sleep to come, if it ever will. And at 2:45 in the morning, I find myself cleaning my photography equipment for no other reason than just to pass time. Though, if I'm going to be honest, it's not the night terrors that are keeping me wide awake tonight, but the anxiety and the hope I'll hear from Ash and Isabella soon. And for what's perhaps the 42nd time, my eyes shift over to the end of the table where my phone lies still. I've not heard from them since they left. They haven't promised a call, of course, but a small part of me wishes they would have the common sense at the very least. Waiting is a tough game, and with the concern stretching out for the minutes far longer than usual, it's impossible for more unpleasant thoughts not to enter my mind. Moreover, it doesn't help that when the clock finally strikes 3, my hand stills. It'll be a complete and utter lie to say my heart didn't leap straight into my throat in that brief second. My whole body has gone motionless, ears straining for any further sounds. A couple of tense seconds pass. Nothing. Of course, with how old the building I'm staying in, power fluctuations ain't anything new. Every now and then, this would happen, leaving a few tenants in a rather bad mood. Nothing unusual anymore after a few years of living here. But this time, the sudden hush brings with it a stillness that raised the hair at the back of my neck and set my heart beating hard against my chest. Something reeks in the air, and in an instant, this place is no longer home. It's a prison. Every rational fiber in my being screams at me to leave. I force myself to swallow and keep a clear head as I lay down all my cleaning tools and begin gathering together the rest of my things scattered about on the table. The camera's body, lenses, filters, diffuser, phone, anything my hand could reach, but in the resulting panic, like in the nightmare, it's the scent that reaches me first. A foul, putrid smell filling my lungs with the heavy stink of death. My fingers clamp tightly to the camera, holding it closer to my body as if the tiny thing would provide enough protection to whatever is with me in the room. It won't. But it's the only comfort I have.
Hello? I know you're in here. What do you want?
Something moves behind me, a soft scuttling over the walls, followed by the squelch and painful creaking of what can only be rotten flesh and broken bones. Without hesitation, I whirl around, my fingers and camera ready, patiently waiting for another movement.
Leave! Leave now! There's nothing here for you!
There's a brief moment of silence after, and for a short while, I think my pleas worked. Then, with no warning, the shuffling resumes, and along with it are the sobs of a woman. The light flashes fleetingly one last time, allowing me a glimpse of her grotesque, misshapen features before it's once again lost in the darkness. All of a sudden, her tune changes, no longer a soft cry, but a high-pitched shriek brimming with pain, grief, and anger. Every ounce of courage I've mustered flees from my body at the sound, and the next thing I know, my hand is gripping the knob and I'm wrenching the door open. Her wails follow me as I flee into the night. Pacing has always been more of Ashton's thing than mine. When I want to think, I sit and let the minutes tick by until an idea comes to my mind or my pulse settles down. And yet dried leaves and twigs crack under my shoes as I make another pass at them. Terror is too mild to describe what this is. There's no way in hell I'm going back. Whatever she is, pleading won't work. The moment we saw that letter, she's been after us.
I can't run. Not this time.
Nearly 2 hours have gone by since I left the comfort of my room for the solitude of the park. 2 excruciating hours since I've started making calls. No one's answering. Not even Rebecca, who's always kept her phone line open in case other people need her. Or Isabella, who frequently checks hers for any messages and readily responds as soon as she can afford. Doesn't help that Ash hasn't said a word to where he went off to as well.
Damn it! I knew I should have asked him before I let him leave.
Knowing him, he could be anywhere. But there's really only one place he'll likely be at this time. The sun has already peaked over the horizon when I make it to the mansion. I have no idea what I'm expecting to see when I got there. There's Ashton, first and foremost. Part of me wishes my assumptions are correct, and he's really somewhere close by on a stakeout. But I've never been the lucky sort when it comes to that kind of guessing. And even after I've made a round of the immediate vicinity, I could find neither hide nor hair of him. Calling him does no good either, considering how awful the signal here is. He can't be too far if he's really here, but if he is, he would have already noticed me by now. Instead, there's only silence. The kind too quiet to fit any sort of comfort in. Even the trees seem to have fallen asleep with the rest of the mansion, oblivious to what's happening around it, a small island of stillness in an otherwise fast-paced world. No wonder the whole of Anselm seems at odd with the rest of Luxburn. The whole city is alive, growing every minute, breathing every second, and pulsating with life. And the village remains unmoving. Unchanged. It's not surprising the legend still lives up to this day, and that's why she's still here, walking its hallowed halls. And beyond me, the mansion looms ominously. But now ain't the time for fear. Even if Ash is not here, I've still got to let the Wrights know what I've seen, what's in their home. And whatever grievance Ash has with them, doesn't matter. There might be grounds for imprisonment, but they don't deserve a brutal death at the hands of one malicious spirit. And I'm sure Isabella would want the same thing. I head straight for their door without a single thought. It takes a few rings, the sound loud above the foreboding stillness, before I hear footsteps on the other side.
Gordon Bennett, only a Nazi would knock at such an ungodly hour.
Gordon Bennett? Is that a minced oath, for God damn it? And a Nancy?
Where's that damn butler when I need him?
Oh, before long, the door swings widely open with Mr. Luke Wright standing behind it. Is it just me, or is there just like this dark aura around him? Seething would be a complete understatement to describe him. Like this, I've got no doubt as to why Ash would find him a suspect.
You, again. It's bloody 6 in the morning. What the hell is it now?
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time. Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't. Unlike you, the ones living in this house need to sleep. Come back when people are actually awake, or I'll call security on you.
Before I can get a word in, he slams the door to my face and bolts it shut with much finality.
Wait, sir, you gotta hear me out. You're both in danger if you stay in there. Have you seen the news lately? Everything's not a coincidence.
Only silence answers me. Maybe if it was Ms. Wright... Oh, who am I kidding? There are limits as to how far a person will believe you. Then again, I didn't believe Isabella when she warned us. And now I'm here, desperately trying to save people, even if I'm aware it's completely out of my own capacity to do so. Is this what they call karma? If so, this is one horrible way of turning things around. Taking people's lives by playing with people's fears, making them feel useless.
You're around, ain't you? You here? Inside this house? Listening, watching, or whatever it is that you spirits do? What do you want? You're already dead. Leave us!
Nothing. I don't even know who I'm talking to, or if a sane person is supposed to be doing that. The only thing I've got after is a feeling of foolishness watching over me. Or perhaps this is just me losing my mind. Out of other options and any other ideas, I let my hand slide off the door's surface and fall listlessly to my sides. I can go back to Luxburn, try and find the others, try and get out of this mess with them, or let them know how much deep shit we all are. Both sound good. Either way, my loitering here ain't helping at all. I let the quietist calm me for a few more minutes before standing up and heading out to fetch my bike. It's quite a distance to Luxburn, but if I hurry, I'll reach it in maybe... The rustling stops as soon as I turn around and strain my ears for any other movement around me.
Yo, Ash, you there?
No answer. If he is here and I've just missed him earlier... Already my feet are moving in search of him for the second time. It won't hurt to double check. Triple check, even. With how big the property is, he can be anywhere. If things ain't so urgent, if they ain't so dire that lives are at stake, I'd probably just have waited for him to show up again.
But damn it! He needs to realize what exactly it is he's dealing with.
That it's not just a petty criminal he can simply throw in jail. That it's something beyond the authority of his police badge could ever give him. The guy needs to stop playing the big damn hero, sit down, and chill. My breathing comes in short, shallow rasps by the time I make it back to where I started. Still no sign of him, and I'm beginning to think I'm just wasting my time here. But that's when I hear it. I'd recognize the melody in a heartbeat. Ma's favorite song. I listen for a while, trying to gauge where exactly from the house it's coming from. My feet starts moving before I can stop them. And there, as I circle a corner, from a room in the first floor, a single window is open, but I can't make out whoever's inside. However, I'm sure the singing comes from there. Still, why I hear an old tune here of all places, I don't know. It's not an obscure song, by all means, but it's pretty rare to find someone who knows it. And for some reason, death seems to follow this song around. Panic lodges itself at the base of my throat at once. Whoever's humming might be... I don't want to be the pessimist now, but on the off chance that it's Ms. Wright...
Shit.
I shouldn't just barge in there. I can put myself in danger before I can save anyone. Ash will tell me so in the exact same words. Might even write me a dissertation on why that's a bad idea if he ain't so lazy. But damn it, god damn it. Someone could be in danger. Enter the open window, or, keep looking for Ash. You know, I am disinclined strongly to going into the window because I hear creepy ghost crying right now, so F all of that. Achievement unlocked. Mind your own business. In the end, the rational part of my brain wins out, the half that spent too much time around Ash. It's right, though, the reasonable part. If I do force my way in and find something unpleasant, how am I going to fight back? With my camera? No matter where you look at it, that's simply asking for a painful death.
Better chance if I find Ash. What is he snooping about?
Perhaps I should try the forest. Make a round further into the gardens? Not a sound plan, but it's better than nothing. The woman's soft sobs have subsided now by some means, almost inaudible to the point where I'm wondering if I truly heard what I heard. I didn't get to dwell much on it, though, because right at that moment my phone rings. The sharp notes cutting piercing through the thick quietude. I clamp a hand over it before pressing the button before the speakers are close to my ear.
Are you?
I only caught the tail end of the person's greeting on the other side, but I know that voice well enough.
What was that, Ash? Could you repeat that? Signal shitty here.
I asked, where are you? Hell, Zach, I've been calling your number for a good 20 minutes now. What kind of shithole did you get into?
Good morning to you, too. I should be asking you that question. I've been looking all over the mansion for you.
I've been looking all over the mansion for you.
I thought you'd be...
What mansion?
What mansion? Oh, shit.
Do I really need to answer that?
Why are you even... No, wait. Just get your ass here at Isabella's place, and hurry.
I shift my gaze into the mansion, specifically at the window I heard the cries from. There's nothing of it now, not even echoes.
How urgent is this?
Pressing enough for you to stop asking questions and get yourself here. Please, Zach.
That gives me a pause. He didn't call me Z-Man. It's a rare thing for him to take on that tone.
I'll be there in a few. An hour or two tops.
Thanks. I'll see you.
They know that I've got a bicycle. I rush back to my bike as soon as the call ends. Without another look, I leave the mansion along with its haunting melodies and grim echoes behind. There are more important things than my own curiosity and impulses. I have no idea what would have happened if we went in there, but I would assume that poor Zachary would have been brutally murdered. And here we are. We have now completed, and I will save, we have now completed Zachary's chapter. That puts us 3 chapters in. We have Mary Ann's chapter, which is the start of the remaining 4 chapters. And we will start in on Mary Ann's chapter, I think, on Saturday. It's possible it might be tomorrow night. Like I said, I have the next week off for vacation. I just needed to get away from work for a little while. So that will be fun. We'll have a week of games and doing a little spring cleaning and all that other wonderful stuff. So we'll hold off on the game until then. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Despite the Google foo of the translation here, it's been a pretty creepy story and actually fairly compelling. We're an hour and 26 minutes in here, which puts us 9.5 hours into the game. So it's been fun. We may do some more streaming tonight. We'll see. I don't know what everybody's going to be up to. There's a good chance we've got some Friday the 13th or something like that going on. If that's the case, I will bring the stream back. If it's not, maybe I'll play some Into the Breach. Whichever way, it's very likely I will see you guys later tonight.